to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. Creative Vitality Jam Sessions and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect, because Black Lives Matter. In motion until change comes. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Cira Robertson. She is a senior artist of BalletBlack, and we have known each other since 2019. Cira is a formidable artist with a big background, and I cannot wait for you to meet her.
Hello.
Hi, Cira.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's so good to see you.
Been a while. It's been what, a year?
It's been a year since we worked together. That's right. It's been a year since you had your beautiful shows in the Crucible. Yeah, we'll get to that, but it was such a pleasure to work with you in that process. And like I said, we'll get there. But I did want to mention one thing before we start. As I was looking through stuff about you, I saw this beautiful video of you on the beach, boreing on point in the sand, and I thought, it's such a beautiful and very rare thing to see, because we know about point shoes and how they melt, but it was so gorgeous. How did that come about?
Well, it was a true task, but I had gotten contacted by a filmmaker. His name is Mark Don, and he had this image that he wanted of, you know, a swan being out in just out in land, like, you know, and just hearing the sounds of things, like, which I thought was a bit weird, because of course you don't want to hear, but the breathing and the sand, and it was actually, it came out a lot more beautiful than it felt, you know, and I didn't appreciate it until like a couple of years later, you know, when I saw it and stepped back from it, and I was like, that's actually quite beautiful. And not just because it's me, you know, but the concept, the idea of everything, the rawness of it, and the beauty through the almost ugliness.
Oh, I didn't think it was ugly at all. What I thought, it was, you know, human nature coming together through this art form, and you know, how we do sink in sand, even in our regular feet and in point shoes. No, I thought it was quite stunning. I really did. I thought it was beautiful.
Thank you.
So, Cira, I wanted to start the questions with, you know, just kind of starting at the beginning, and we can flow from there. There was a quote that you wrote, said, "Ballet loved you more than you loved it, yet it would be your ticket to see more than Cincinnati." So you moved to New York, where you said you fell in love. And
Yeah.
can you take us on that journey from that beginning dance through landing in New York, because I think this is also really poignant right now about how, you know, young dancers during this time could lose their drive or their love, and I just think it's a really important aspect, a journey through perhaps something that you don't want, and then like it's your ticket, and then you find out you love it. So yeah.
And yes, I feel like that was me. I mean, I started dancing at 8 years old, which is, it was considered late because everyone was 3, you know? But it was more of a creative movement sort of thing. And I had auditioned for this FAME style performing arts school where they did, you know, acting, singing, dancing, art. And I initially wanted to be in the drama department. I wanted to act, I wanted to do that. But I completely flopped on my, you know, drama audition. But dance was my thing. You know, I've always had musicality. I loved the musicals as a child, so I picked up choreography fine. But it wasn't a passion. I didn't know what passion was back then. You know, I went along the movements, did everything, passed all my exams, but it wasn't until something clicked that I thought I could do this, not necessarily love it, but I can do it. But it was when a teacher said that I moved my arm beautifully. And I was like, what? It's just an arm, you know? Ah, okay. So if I keep doing things nicely, maybe I'll get more compliments. And maybe I'll like myself more. You know, it's all like, thinking back, it's like just more reassurance in that one little thing. But more into my teens, like, you know, my classmates, they were going off to Boston Conservatory for the summers, you know, Houston, SAB, and I didn't have the money, you know, like I never thought that I could do anything. So it's like, it wasn't a love sort of thing at that moment. It was just like, yeah, I know I'll graduate and then I guess I'll have to go to college. I didn't really pay attention in classes, you know? But I started going to the Dance Theater of Harlem summer schools, and I thought, okay, all right. At 18, I auditioned to go year round, and I got in. And so I was like, okay, but still that love wasn't there how I felt it should have been, you know, but I knew that I didn't want to stay in Cincinnati. You know, nothing's wrong with Cincinnati, but I just knew that I needed to get out of there. And I wasn't technically that great at that point in time. Like, my journey is, I'll say it now as I'm older, but it's amazing because even at 18 years old, I was not where I should have been technically, you know, and it's the growth part of it. But once I moved to New York and, you know, smelled the dank subways and, you know, took class at Steps and was transported into another space where there were diehard dancers out there who loved it. It was intriguing to me, and just the hustle and bustle of everything kind of made me go, I can't do without this. And being at Dance Theater of Harlem, and, you know, like it was ups and downs. That's New York City. But Arthur Mitchell started to take a liking to me. And before that, I started to, you know, love it a bit. But in my last year and a half there, I fell in love, because not only did I want to please this man, this amazing man, you know, Arthur Mitchell, I started to love my body. I started to get it. Things started to click. And I thought, you can do this. You haven't trusted yourself at any other point in your life, but this is where I trust myself in dance. And that was kind of the beginning.
That's beautiful. And it's so, it's such an honest take on getting to a place of love, right? And it's a really beautiful take, because there are definite instances in relationships and professions where love grows. And then it becomes the thing that you think, it's like, as the love grows, it dawns on you that it could have been that this was what was missing. And I just think it's a beautiful journey to share. Yeah.
And it's amazing, because, like, I know I'm not the only one. There are people who go through this. I mean, you know, and they don't know how to vocalize it, or they're confused in their head. Like, I have these opportunities, but why don't I feel something, you know? And it just takes.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, it just takes time, and every journey is up to that individual. You know, we compare and contrast so much, but it's once we step back and say, okay, this is my path, things just kind of fall into place.
Yes. And it's funny you say that 8 was late. I started it as well. I started at 6, but my parents put me in a movement class, but apparently I was bouncing off the walls, so they just took me out. But I also started at 8. And interestingly enough, when I got to San Francisco Ballet at 14, they also were like, oh my God, you started at 8. And I thought, well, you know, even then I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's always anyhow.
Yeah.
We'll be there. And you know what? I forgot to ask you the very first question. What part of the world are you in?
I am in London. I am in the United Kingdom. Yeah.
Great.
Dreary side.
Right
What's
now?
new?
Yeah.
Right.
So you danced 4 years at Dance Theater of Harlem, and then you said you yearned for something different, artistic freedom, and also travel and seeing the world was in your heart. This curiosity, this need, but you also said it was very hard to leave DTH. And you know, I say it takes courage. And it took courage to jump into the deep end, and leave something that was going quite well. And I think it's also an important aspect to speak about, that it might be good where you are, but something in you says, just like when you were a young one from Cincinnati, there was something so healthy in you where you knew how to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
way, right? Because that's what it is.
Yeah. That intuition sort of thing, that gut thing that I've always listened to,
Exactly.
I've always listened to it. I think the yearning for something else, I felt guilty because I had everything going for myself there, like pretty much. Like it was in a point where Arthur Mitchell, he learned my name. He was saying it correctly. And so I'm like, okay. But I knew that I wanted to be freer. I knew that I wanted to be less square, if that makes sense, which is nuts, but I wanted to just elongate that arabesque in things, and that meant so much to me, versus being correct at that time. And I felt when I did leave or gave my letter of resignation, I saw his face change a bit, and I felt like he was a little bit hurt, and for me to finally get to the place where he would, whisper and point at me, and it was a really weird place to be, but I couldn't stop that fire in my heart that I wanted to just go and just experience something else. New York City was great, but I wasn't having a great time there. I wasn't living, and I knew there was more out there, and I knew that I needed to see it right then and there, or else I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you took the plunge.
Yeah. And it's scary. That plunge is scary,
Scary, but it's always, how many times do we read and hear about the people who have taken the plunge and have we're inspired by these people. And the other thing I want to say is what I'm thinking a lot about, let's say 17, 18, 19-year-olds that are on the cusp of their career. I've been thinking a lot about this, and now is not the time for waiting. Even though the inertia feels so acute, now, I've been saying this a lot to myself. The present is the future, and that keeps me active in this time when I can't get in the studio like you, where the way I work with dancers or speak with my friends is this. And you know what? Filled with gratitude that this is here.
Yes. Oh, you're so right. Yeah. Like I never thought that I'd be okay with this whole thing, like zooming and, but it's good to know that, if the world hits rock bottom, the creatives will still somehow claw their way up out and still keep making content, Always, and during the beginning of lockdown, like I thought, I can get used to this. Maybe I'll just retire. Maybe, but I would take a ballet class and that piano music would start and I would like get a lump in my throat and I would be transported somewhere else. And that let me know you are not done.
Yeah.
It's about the little things that mean so much now, that we took for granted, I think, when we had it at our feet.
Yeah, exactly. I said the other day in an interview, I realized I haven't needed to move so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. You want?
No, I'm agreeing. Okay. Sorry, I forget there's a little delay.
Your big leap into the unknown landed you in BalletBlack in London. You wrote, "This is where your real journey in artistry began." This is a huge reimagining, just this whole leap and going, and even your audition process. How did your artistry start emerging since you felt like this was the beginning of your journey? And what were those catalysts?
I think as far as coming to BalletBlack, I knew that it wasn't a classical company. I knew that we'd be doing new works. I think I knew that things would be more on the neoclassical side. And coming from America, when you think about, London and Europe, you think about like, yes, just big and, dancing to be dancing and all that stuff. And it was intriguing to me, which it was, coming here. But at that time, BalletBlack, it was just 6 dancers, 3 guys, 3 girls. And at that point, everything was kind of made on us. So that's the first time, one of the first times that I went through that process, things being made rather than watching a video or, the elders coming in and teaching it to you. So it's like, I not necessarily had a say, but I could vocalize and communicate with choreographers when I thought, choreographers are like up there, which they are, but it's like, whoa, I can talk to them. We can have a dialogue where they're normal people, And so with that, I started this whole kind of creative path that was completely different. Like the music sounded different once, it was up to me to improv or something like that, like just like the clouds kind of cleared. Not that there were clouds, but it was a different responsibility that I had to take on in myself, as far as owning that artistry and growing, because I knew what kind of dancer I wanted to be. I just didn't know how to get there, or I didn't start with the equipment to learn what I could achieve, So it was all a learning process, I think. And what I've ultimately wanted to do, and I think I'm on the path, is just emote and be something, because I know when I see that ballet dancer, that ballerina, and she is something, and it's just like, I can't breathe because their beauty is taking me away. It's not even the high legs and all the pirouettes, which is great, but I want to cry as an audience member, So I know that as a dancer, that's my job. I need to give everything. And it's that vulnerable place that was so scary to show. It's so scary, But I feel like I wouldn't have learned that unless I dealt with choreographers who allowed me to experiment with how I wanted to be as a dancer, who let me have a little bit of input as far as, well, I think, what is she supposed to feel here? Well, I can do this, or what do you want? And just really talking about it. It's the conversation. Like, as I'm getting to know that character, I'm getting to know myself as well.
Yeah, and I just keep thinking about you speaking about character and roles and diving in and feeling. I think of you as a kid wanting to be that actress, and look what's happening now. You're there. You're doing it. You're doing it. So you've combined, loves together, you know?
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting that, I don't know about you, but when I was, let's say even 18, I
Mm.
could have never known how my life would have turned out. And it's what you said. It's about taking those risks
Mhm.
and saying yes and saying, I'll try, because that's when the doors open. It's remarkable. And also what you said, doors open when you also close others. And you think, oh God, what did he do now? But
You got to. You can't leave too many doors open, you know? We don't know what might come through there, but it's, yeah, yeah.
and trust. You're speaking
And
of
it's,
trust. When choreographers started trusting, and you started trusting, and that give and take, that flow of trust. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful thing, and I yearn for that. That's what feeds me. It's that communication. As dancers, we always want to please, we try to do those things, but I'm learning that my body can't do everything. So it's like, let's communicate and please each other in a good way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Let's make art together.
Yes. Yes.
You have been 12 years now in London, correct? 12 years? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
You're a star, a very well-known dancer in London. You have created roles with copious, many choreographers. You've been nominated for Outstanding Classical Female Dancer at the Critics Circle National Dance Awards. You and I have worked together on The Crucible, talk about a role, right? You're extraordinarily dramatic, extraordinary, you are so extraordinarily, but the lead doesn't belong there right now. You're an extraordinary dramatic actress. That's what I found when working with you, was so much expertise and detail. And that's also life, and what you're speaking about, being open. What dramatic roles would you like to dance, and what calls you?
I thought about that. And I honestly couldn't wrap my head around what I want to do. I feel that I thrive in angry roles and emotional roles. Like I'm sure I could be happy, but that would be fake. I'm a happy person, but like I like the emotional stuff. I like the tragedies. I like the tragedies.
So
And
you're a Shakespeare woman.
I'm a Shakespeare woman. I am, like, to be continued. I can't talk about those things now, but yes, we'll talk about that later. But
Okay.
Everything that I've done in the past couple years at BalletBlack and even at Scottish, everything narrative, I'm able to dive into and become whatever I need to become. And I use whatever has gone on in my life beginning to end, and that seems to be the true emotion that the choreographer needs. So I only want to get better and better at that, but I don't have a specific role, because everything that I've done, I've kind of been like, okay, you did that. What's next? Even Tituba, it was great.
Yeah, I wanted to talk
on
about
the
that.
inside.
I wanted to talk about that. So as a role, what was your journey there? How did you, because there was one scene in particular where goosebumps and tears every single time we were in that studio, not just on stage, every single time.
Sorry.
That's all.
it's basically everything that we talked about. I knew that I was coming to Scottish Ballet as a guest. And it's like one of the first times that I've guested in like a big company, you know? So I knew that, okay, here we go. All right. Just be yourself. Be yourself. My mom always says, whatever you're cooking with, keep the same recipe. So I'm just like, okay, just be Cira. That's it. You know, Helen Pickett. I know her name. Okay. American woman. I don't know why, but there's pressure in that because we speak the same language. I don't know why.
Wow.
Not in a bad way at all, but it's just something, you know, being here for 12 years, I feel like I'm out of the American loop, you know, but then I need to realize that dance and ballet is one whole universal language, you know? What made me comfortable, and I've realized that even though I like the uneasy roles, I need to feel like that much comfortable. And the way you described the character and the way you wanted to portray her made me feel a lot more comfortable and strong. And even some days when rehearsals didn't go great, I knew that I wanted to please you, but ultimately I wanted to please myself to give that character justice, you know? And I love that now I'm able to do a bit of method acting. I mean, like I tapped into that woman and I felt the things that she felt, and it would take me a while to cool down after. And that's when I knew, like, like it's the point where I don't care who's watching me. Like those emotions are going to flow because that's what she's feeling. That person is not Cira right now, you know? And it just felt very true every single time, you know? Yeah.
They were extraordinary performances. And also, I'm talking about also the studio though. And that's an interesting point to bring up. And you and I had a lot of talks. I remember also talking, like we'd stand in our hotel on on the 3rd floor before we even got to our rooms at the end of the day, and we'd have these talks, right? And then we finally said, maybe we should go to dinner. But I remember like this, because I, like you, there are nerves in meeting someone new. So I thought, oh, okay, new person. You know, I'm a communicator. We have to find our way together. So we worked on that together too in the studio. But the thing about your work in the studio, and many, many, many dancers, also, it is a culture in Scottish Ballet as well, that when you're in your role, or doing your, you know, in your dance, there's not marking going on, because how can you mark and be in a role? Because as dancers, and this is what I find so amazing about dance and acting, is that the whole body's involved. It's not just this. I love film, but if your fingers aren't talking about your role. So I really like, I thought that was also exquisite that, and James Bonas, you know, we agreed, James Bonas, the director who worked on it, it was like, we could feel it in you, your role, what you wanted with each scene. She wasn't just the same person in each scene.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's a human being.
Completely.
Yeah.
And in the family, but an outsider, ultimately, I think, you know?
That's right.
So how do you fit into somewhere where you don't belong?
That's right.
Or, you know? Yeah. There was a lot, but I mean, like, that's the thing, like, you and James, I mean, I felt like I could ask questions, you know? Like, and I did. I needed to know this woman. I needed to know what she would do in this situation around all these people, you know? And you guys explained it so well to where it clicked, you know, it clicked. And I wasn't able to take her off until I was in my hotel room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Protected, right?
Woo. Yeah.
I know. But man, those rolls are great, aren't they? They're like full meals.
They
like,
are.
You lay down at night in bed, and you're like, that was a meal.
That was the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fulfilled, full. Yeah.
A small question, but let's see where it goes. Where do you see your career taking you? I know you've also started teaching, and you've expressed a lot of joy in that and being the example, so young ones can see someone like themselves, also young girls, and say, I can be a ballerina.
I mean, I love teaching. I don't think I'll ever stop. Even if that's not my main focus, I'll always do something to give back, you know, and if anything, I want to do more. But I've learned in this past year that I need to focus on myself as well, you know, because I thought I had a clear idea of what I wanted, but it's changed how things do, you know. It goes like, oh, okay, whoa, all right, that's not what I thought. So now I'm in this place that whatever I do next, I just want to give it as much passion, and I can't even give you an answer on what that is. I want to try to do everything.
Right.
I want to do everything, you know, and I can't even be specific. I mean, of course, I feel like I need to act at some point. I need to be in something. But, you know, I want to dance more. I want to guest more. I want to, you know, see the world a bit more. I want to help people. I want to, you know, I want to help people who can't do for themselves, you know, in the dance world. Not only that, the world, you know. I want to be someone's mentor. I want to learn more. Just so much. Like the possibilities are endless, and I can't put my finger on it, but I want to do great things.
You already are.
And yes, but I want to do more great things, and I want to be in the moment to acknowledge them right then and there versus years later and going, yeah, you did well, versus being so hard on myself. And yeah, that's been my problem, and it's still gonna be my problem. But, you know, people go, you know, that was so good, and I'm just like, yeah, but, you know, like, it could have, like, and people get tired of that. They don't want to hear that. They just want you to take it. And it's not until years later that I'm taking it, you know, and I want to look forward to being proud of myself in whatever moment that I'm in.
Then you will.
No matter. Yeah.
I had a friend, a fellow artist, an actor, actually say to me once, because that's a very dancer thing to say. You get a compliment, you're like, well, you know, it seems very dancerly. And this friend of mine said, you know, Helen, take the compliment and walk. And and that's just, you know, those simple things that mean so much. It was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll start practicing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something to practice.
Yeah.
It's a practice, you know?
Exactly. Here's something very exciting as well. You teamed up with Freed of London. Love Freed, I also wore Freed's, Freed of London, and BalletBlack to create the first brown and bronze point shoes. I mean, finally, and congratulations. And how did this come about?
Well, it was 2017. And I've always been a shoe pancaker, you know, putting the makeup on the shoes, as, you know, I was taught, and the people who taught them, like, it's a tradition. It's nothing new. It's nothing that I made up, or it's, you know, even white people have to do it. You know, no one is European pink. If you don't wear tights, you got to pancake. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's very true, you know. But this particular day, I was just tired of pancaking. You know, my shoes, they would become soggy, and it's like I'm killing them before I really get to kill them, you know. I walked by Freed and I saw pink shoes, purple shoes, blue shoes, red shoes, and me and my friend went in, and I asked one of the workers, you know, I was like, what would need to happen for there to be a brown shoe made, you know? And at that time, the worker, she was like, well, I mean, if you can find the fabric, you know, we'll see what we can do.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So, I mean, and that's another thing. We just take what we're given and we're like, okay. So I went with my friend to the fabric district. We went to like 5 shops, couldn't find a brown, like, and I'm just like, what the? And so there were 2 more shops. She's like, you know, let's just, I was ready to go. I was like, you know what, forget it. It's fine. Whatever. I've been pancaking all my life. And she said, let's just go to 2 more. Went to one, something brown, but it was dark, too dark, you know, like nobody's brown. But the last shop I went to, it was this perfect little brown. And I was just like, let me just get a sample of that, right? So I went into work a couple days later, and I showed I told Casa, my director, Casa Pancho, what was happening and what I was kind of doing and wanted to do with Free, because at that time it was just for myself. I wanted a custom brown shoe. I was being a bit selfish, but I wanted it for myself. What can you do for me, you know? And, you know, once I brought it to her attention, she's like, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't have to go out and look for something, you know? And so she got in contact with them, and then things started rolling. And, you know, 2018, 17, 18. Let's say 2018. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, they were on shelves, you know, in 2 colors, ballet brown and ballet bronze.
And I remember seeing the first advertisement, and I thought, I mean, this is amazing. You know, I thought finally that this is happening, that, you know, because I liked wearing shiny shoes. Now that didn't completely match, but I really liked it. And my first thought was like, if they want to wear shiny shoes, you know, people of color, they can. I mean, it was so funny. I had so much joy in my heart about this opening.
Yes.
You know? So,
completely.
I mean, kudos, man. That's going to be remembered, you know, that's going to be remembered, and it feels, and then you think like, wow, why wasn't this thought of before? And then you're like, let it go. It's here now.
Exactly. Let it go. It's here. I mean, because Gaynor Minden had done it, you know, but not everybody can wear a gainer. Like Gaynor, as far as I know, I mean, I know back in the day, Capezio did some colors, but then that didn't happen, or it got discontinued. But Gaynor Minden is actually the first company to come out with different shades. But not I don't have a gainer foot. Like I wish it'd be, you know, financially, you know, you'd save money because it's the everlasting shoe, but still it's, I couldn't put my foot in a gainer, you know? And ultimately, it should be presented to in every, you know, every shoemaker. Why not?
Yeah, well, I mean, and just congratulations on getting that done. Because I'm like you, like there was no other shoe for me but Freed. Gaynor, I mean, I'm going to be really biased here, but I don't believe in it. I don't believe in a fiberglass shank. I don't believe in it. I don't believe your foot gets strong.
Ouch. Yeah.
And plus the arches that you have, you need a shoe you can work with. You can't just be, it was a funny thing, you know, shut her down. It can't be boink and boink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to, you know, yeah.
I mean, yeah. People work with it, but I don't think it'd work with me.
Yeah. Here we go. The 3 questions that everybody get. can you share a favorite or impactful memory, a joyful one, or just impactful from your creative life? I know there are many, if you have two, if you have a few.
Okay. My first one, and we kind of like touched on it, but not really. I think the first joyful moment was, I think, in 2003 when I was nominated for the National Dance Awards Outstanding Classical Female Award. I mean, I didn't win, but still, to think about it, like, honestly, I've done a bit of my research, but I'm pretty sure I'm the only Black woman I'm pretty sure in the classical category. I think so. Like, and I've done my research about, this country, and, like, that was exciting for me. And I didn't care that I didn't win, because I still have that framed somewhere, and I'm always going to keep it forever. Like, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to win one of those.
Yes.
I want to win one of those. And I never want anything. I don't want anything. I want
You'll get it.
That's what I want, I can't believe I said that.
Great you said it.
But it's
and I think you deserve it. And now we're going to find that role, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's so many other things, but that's been joyful, but that was one of the big ones. And yeah.
Beautiful.
I can't really think of anything else, but it was, I've done lots of things, and I can say that now with pride and not in my dancer head and all that stuff, because I feel like a normal person right now because of COVID. But, like I'm proud of everything that I've done, Yeah.
Beautiful. Can you share a daily insight or inspiration about living a creative life?
Oh my goodness. Like, it's hard because I'm going to get there. Sorry, I'm long-winded. But dancers, we think so much, and we're down on ourselves so much. More than anybody will know. You only express a little bit of negativity that goes on in your head, to people, but we got to stop that. We have to find the positivity in things. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to tell ourselves, keep going. If anything, I've been telling myself, keep going. You're not doing so bad. Keep going. And it's going to be okay. You're not going to die from it, whatever's happening. You've been through worse, Yeah.
Good. Okay, last big question. And the caveat is, I know there is a whole lot to be done, but if perhaps one, something that is, with you right now in supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what do you believe needs to be shifted or changed?
We have to start with these kids. They need to be nurtured a lot more. They need to be mentored. They need to be given positivity, the affirmations every single day. Because I was just talking with a friend the other day, so much goes on in our minds in a ballet studio as a child, and we take it with us in the studio, home, in the lunchroom. Like, it's about the mental stability of these kids that we want to be these stars in the future. And it's not just about the outside. We need to feed their inside and take care of that most of all.
Yeah, taking care of youth, and perhaps, having the example before you in that positive way. Like, see a person that looks like yourself.
Yeah, definitely. More representation. in all aspects, on the creative team, admin, all of that, more of that.
Beautiful. Oh man, Cira, I haven't spoken to you in a while, but wow, so wonderfully insightful and inspiring and strong and just, you know, what a spirit you embody, and what an artist. And it's just been amazing speaking with you today. I would love if you could tell us if you have a website, or maybe it's the BalletBlack website where we can find out more about you and your company, or then your social media tags. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah. If you're, well, whenever theaters open again, you can find me performing with BalletBlack. You can go to the website, balletblack.co.uk. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Cira Oslin, CiraOslyn, and Cira Robinson on Facebook. And I'm sure there'll be something else, but when it is, I'll let you know.
Great. And I have to do a little spiel. Would you mind staying with me while I do that? So you're going to find out a little bit about Cira in the description box below the video when it is uploaded. And you'll find out some more information about Creative Vitality Jam sessions. We are every Tuesday and Sunday. And our next guest, you will meet a choreographer from San Francisco, Marika, Brussel. And I want to say my thanks now, starting with Gracie Spina, the, let's call her the Jedi, the young Jedi intern today. Thank you, Gracie. Thank you, heartfelt thanks to our beautiful profession that is given us so much strength and love. And Cira, thanks to you for agreeing to this interview. You're a shining star.
Thank you, Helen. I appreciate it.
It was just so fun to work with you as well. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and please keep reimagining creativity. Your present is your future. Bye.